Okay, so recently I had a system that was sent to me that was a victim of what I'd call severe shipping damage. And what I mean by that was it was in a box that was too big and it was sent in parts, and some of the heavier parts, such as the optical drive, was actually laying directly on the motherboard, and as it was shipped, or as it was in the process of being shipped, it was shaking around quite a bit and tore a bunch of items off of the motherboard. And I will show you a bunch of pictures of that, basically the before and after. I did repair it, but it took a good number of hours. I'd say I put about 20 hours into this system on just repairing the motherboard itself. And a lot of the damage could have been avoided by using proper packaging. This item was purchased because it had it was missing a hard drive, which is a relatively simple fix. But by the time that system actually shipped to the customer, it had a lot more damage than just that, or just simply missing a hard drive. I just wanted to start this off by discussing what I recommend to everyone that sends a system to me, how to package it, and that's basically to use a priority mail here as a medium flat rate box, and the Xbox One fits in here really nice. I actually have the system itself here, and just to show you basically what to do, this is simply wrapped with a single layer of bubble wrap around each side. It's actually winds up being a double layer, but you wrap it once around the long edge, which is this, and then you wrap it a second time around the short edge. And on the outer corners here, you just have a single layer of bubble wrap, and on the top you wind up with two. But because the Xbox One, this is not an S system, but this is the original system, is as big as it is, generally this is all you would need to fit this into the box. So to show you here, just basically push it in like that, and we close it up like so, and there you go. And it doesn't shake around at all. It just fits in the box. And the box itself is a little bit puffed out just slightly, but it's perfect, because now again, that doesn't mean the mail carrier won't throw it around, or something drops on this or something like that. It's might be a problem, but for the most part it's very snug. There's no chance of anything moving around and getting damaged. Now if you the system is now complete. It's got screws in it, it's got all the parts necessary. So it's still important that, which is my other point here, it's important to use the right box, and I'll show you a picture too of how the size of the box is in the comparison. The box you'll see here on the right is the actual box it was shipped in. The box in the center is a system that was sent even after that, and it was bubble wrapped okay, as you see there, but there was no other bubble wrap in the system itself. It was pretty much like what you just saw there, dropped in a giant box. And it was okay in shipping in that particular case, because at least the system itself was intact. It was never opened, and it was a whole system. So that's the other part of this, is that when you're shipping a system that's in parts, as opposed to a system that's completely together, you want to make sure those parts are secured. So maybe you even individually wrap all the parts themselves in bubble wrap, but it's critical that you keep those parts off the motherboard itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this system apart really quick so you can see what it looks like all finished, and I'll show you really quickly all the repairs that were done. Okay, so here's a quick look inside the system. Now I'll show you some close-ups of what was actually repaired, but just to give you an idea how small the components actually are, this is the the system completely intact, and this is one of the areas here that had considerable damage and needed to have the parts replaced out. The same's true with this area of the board here, but in particular you can see here the SATA port repair that I did. Normally the port looks like this, where the connection just goes directly into the board, but the plastic itself, or I guess you could say the plastic connector, was completely torn from the board. It was broken and torn off. So I desoldered it, and it's a difficult part to actually replace because it's a custom SATA port connector for this particular motherboard, and rather than try to track something down, it's just easier to solder, basically cut a SATA cable and directly solder it to the board. The reason I wanted to show you this was just to give you an idea of scale, first of all, how tiny these parts are. So when I show you these close-up shots, the soldering doesn't look the best. You can see some of the parts themselves are a little bit crooked, not necessarily straight, but they're so tiny that to the naked eye they actually look fine, seeing it directly on the board. But so you can see everything is intact here. The person who sent it to me actually sent a brand new 1 terabyte drive, and that's what's in the system now. Some of the damage to the board was this on this Blu-ray drive here. There's some tiny little, I guess the best way to maybe to show you so this doesn't move, there are some of these little, I don't know what you call them, little stubs that stick out, and they go through the motherboard, and they keep the actual piece from moving around when you're trying to screw it all back together. And all these big pieces here actually hold, all these bigger sleeves here actually go through the top metal case here, and they go all the way down to the bottom to the lower plastic housing here, and they hold the top case down, and they go through and hold all these components from sliding around. Now these things I showed you here are actually broken on the optical drive piece here. So as a result, so they actually were, I think there would have been one that goes right there. And the reason I'm showing you that is what that means is the optical drive itself, there's nothing keeping it in place with the exception of these screws. So on this system, when you're putting it back together, you have to be very careful about lining everything up. So basically when you put it together, you want it lying on the flat surface when you're putting the screws through, so that this board itself does not slide around. You can see some of these other things were broken as well. But going back to the initial issue here, these components themselves were not secure in shipping, so they were laying directly on the board and moving around, and basically broke off those parts that I was showing you there. Now the other thing to note with this particular system was that when it was sent, it had everything you see here. Obviously this cable itself is replaced, and it came with the top panel. Now I had to replace the front panel as well, because for whatever reason the buttons were messed up. The eject button wasn't working at all, and the sync button was actually powering the system on and off, and the power button was also powering the system on and off. So I've never seen anything quite like that. I'm guessing there was some damage to the cable, or maybe to the front panel itself. So this is actually a brand new piece that I'm sending the customer. The other thing is that it was missing this side panel, so I had to buy one of these. I got this for about $8 on eBay. It was missing all the screws, the primary screws, but in particular these long screws that go through the case itself. All 8 of these screws were missing as well, which again is a part of the problem as to why the system was shipped in the manner that it was, and it was moving around the way it was. It was because it was lacking all these screws. The other thing it was missing was this little piece here. This is what slides in behind the sync button. This is critical because without this here, there's no way for the sync button, which is here, to make contact. The button is actually on the other side here, and requires this thing to be in place. This actually slides in like so, and then presses. Okay, so I just wanted to show you basically the system itself complete here. Now I'm gonna put it back together really quick and just speed this up and just show you the system in action. The other problem this system had as well was the Blu-ray drive was also missing its screws, and I think the reason for that is either in shipping and or even before they shipped it, it had a problem basically putting discs in and ejecting discs out, and the disc itself spinning. I did an earlier video about that as well, and the problem that it had was exactly the same problem I had in that video, where there was basically a lever that had popped out. So I'll link to that video so you can see the process of fixing that. But like I said, I'm going to put this together here really quick. And that was actually another problem, so I'm going to be very careful in shipping this little tab here. It got bent, so I want to be really careful. I don't want to bend it around too much. So when I'm plugging this in, you want to make sure that you're holding this in place. And be very careful with that. Oh yeah, and also to mention, this both of these antenna cable ports, I did another video on that as well, were broken off. Might have been in shipping if they were just left connected when it was shipped around, but I had to completely replace both ports, which is not a fun repair either. So again, all accounted for basically the 20 hours of repair time. Anyways, so I'm gonna get this back together here, and we'll show you the system in action. As per usual, I don't have a terrific setup here to basically show you the system in action, but I did want to show the system together, and right now it's powered on, and I didn't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I had to also replace the front LED. I normally do that for people anyways, but on this system, the front LED was actually broken, and when I had gotten the system all back together for the first time, powered it on, there was no power LED, although it was working. The system itself was working at that point, but not the LED. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but this stuff, the Chip Quick SMD1, this is a low melt solder, was critical to swapping parts from, and I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but to replace those SMD, the surface mount components on the motherboard you see here, I actually happen to have the same revision board that was missing the optical drive board, the daughter board for the Blu-ray drive. So it was a useless board, and all the locations and basically the chips matched this board. So I just borrowed all those pieces and swapped them over to this one. And this Chip Quick SMD stuff was critical to getting those parts off. A lot of them, one of them had, I think it was a IC that had 5 legs, and it was very simple to get them off with this stuff here. Although it still takes time because you have to be very careful with each piece as you're swapping it. But anyways, this stuff, I got this for about $15 on eBay, and it was terrific. Now, again, this is a system all powered on here. You can see it's connected to Xbox Live. See here, it's got one network connection here. It's got HDMI and the power. Now, I'm going to show you the optical drive in action here. So this should basically load up the game, and then it should start. There you go. And one other thing I forgot to do is get a controller, so let me just pause the video and come back here. And we're going to actually sync it. Now, if you don't fix that antenna cable, or if that antenna cable is broken, you lose the range on the controller. So here we go. So I'll just show you that really quick here. And we got the two syncing. There, okay. Now, we don't have the game booted here, but we're almost there. That's how fast I was able to get the controller. I just want to show you this real quick. Here, I'm going to move away because it does show your Xbox Live account name here. Okay, so really quick, just want to show you moving this around. This is one of my son's favorite games. These 5, I do play this with him quite a bit. It's fun because you can, the second controller can move around Woodstock. But Just wanted to show you that here, that working. And you can see I'm at a distance from the system itself. Without that antenna cable, you only get, you have to be about within a foot of your system. So, so that's just showing that that works as well. This isn't his controller, this is my controller, but it just happens to have the same red LED. Yeah, it looks pretty sharp. But any color looks good as well. I also have green, blue, purple, yellow, orange, and I do have white as well. So for anyone interested in my services, I do that. And it's included with the purchase of the repair and or the hard drive upgrade. All right, well, there you go. So that's the system fully working. And here I'll just show you the eject. See, so you can see, you put a disc in, injected fine. Obviously it installs fine. It was able to read the disc to load the game, so I won't show that. But yeah, so this is definitely one of my biggest repairs, which is why I wanted to show it. But I also wanted to basically finally do a video about shipping and with that, how basically using this medium flat rate box. This box itself costs about 15, it's less than 15 to ship, but it doesn't care about weight. See, one rate, any weight. And the Xbox One fits in there perfectly, and it won't cost you a lot. That big box that I showed you, those boxes I showed you all lined up, this system shipped in the one all the way to the right, and the person that shipped it to me actually spent $45 on that box to ship it to me, whereas if they had used this instead and it just wrapped everything up properly, would have cost, they would have saved 30 bucks, and they would have saved even more damage to the board by the time it arrived to me. Okay, so let that be a lesson to you. Use the medium flat rate box. As I showed you, I do the controllers as well, so if you want the LED changed on the controllers and you're sending them along with the box, then you won't be able to fit this in the medium flat rate box, in which case you need to use a larger box. Just make sure that there's plenty of bubble wrap, where you bubble wrap the system and you bubble wrap the controllers, and just throw a bunch more bubble wrap in as well to make up for that space. Or a couple people have actually put the controls in a separate box, which works as well. The only issue with that is you wind up paying a lot more shipping, but you know, whatever you want to do. The main thing is you don't want to create more damage to your system. Okay, that should do it here. I want to get this actually packed up and shipped back off to the customer now. So we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.